Hi guys, so can someone please tell me what the hell is going on here? So this is from Electromaps UK on Twitter. It says here, Westminster voting intentions. Conservative Party 43% up 3. Labour Party 36% down 2. Liberal Democrats 7% unchanged. SNP 4% unchanged. And the Green Party at 3% unchanged. And this survey was carried out on the dates the 26th to 28th of February. What the hell is going on? How is it possible that the Conservative Party is not unchanged, but is actually more popular than it was before? Because if we look at the result, the number of people who have died according to this pandemic, and let's park even Brexit for a moment. The disaster of Brexit doesn't seem to be denting the Conservative Party's approval, Boris Johnson's approval rating. We see here total cases 4.19 million cases, deaths 123,000. So 123,000 people have died on Boris Johnson's watch. Well, let's hear what Boris Johnson had to say exactly about the pandemic exactly 1 year ago today, on the 3rd of March 2020.
I can tell you that I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody. You'll be pleased to know, and I continue to shake hands. And I think it's very important that people obviously can make up their own minds. I think that Matt has said that people must make up their own minds, but I think the scientific evidence is, well, I'll hand over to the experts. But our judgment is wash. Washing your hands is the crucial thing.
Would it be a stretch to say that this cavalier attitude has resulted in this figure? The fact that Boris Johnson, 1 year ago, and this is not when the pandemic was some abstract thing. It was raging across Europe. At this stage, Boris Johnson was, still saying, I'm shaking hands with people. Make up your own mind. This is the result of making up your own mind. This is the result of his attitude towards the pandemic. And you can see here from the results back on the 22nd of March, because of the approach from the government. Yes, there were a few cases, but a few deaths, I should say. The number of cases actually back in March was starting to increase. 4,000 cases a day, and it went, as we can see. But someone please explain to me how the Conservatives are up 3 here. Now, some will say that it's because of the lack of an opposition, that Keir Starmer is basically doing nothing. And I tend to agree to a certain extent. But that will only account for some of the support. In a way, you can see that the Conservative Party are really up 5, because they're up 3, and the Labour Party, the main opposition, are down 2. I think Keir Starmer and the Labour Party need to attack more. They need to highlight the number of people who have died. Now, the most depressing thing about all of this as well is that the Conservative Party are selling off the NHS. The reason we can mainly point to for this rise in support for both Boris Johnson and the Conservative Party is because of is due to the rollout of the vaccine. The rollout of the vaccine is a success. But that's not because of the government, that's because of the NHS itself. The NHS has come through every time. And I talked about this on the stream last night. The NHS has been the success story here in this pandemic. Test and trace, a disaster. Boris Johnson, a disaster. Matt Hancock, a disaster. Corruption and a disaster. The NHS has come through. And the most depressing part is that the NHS is working hard and the Conservatives are reaping the benefits. While at the same time, the Conservatives are selling off the NHS. They're handing it over to private companies in the UK or private companies from the United States, for example. the public, instead of being critical of the government who have underfunded the NHS over the last 10 years, are now handing their support to the Conservative Party and not to the NHS. Because the NHS is being sold off. It will eventually be completely sold off. And it really pisses me off that you have the voters who are continually supporting the Conservative Party, the ones who are selling off the NHS, who are throwing the NHS under a bus, undermining it and selling it off. And the voters are happy with that. The voters are distracted. And there isn't a viable alternative to hold the government to account. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?